This is Clay Pigeon Raceway, and last weekend we went there for our first race of the 2026 season. You join us on Saturday morning on the journey to Clay Pigeon Raceway. First though, we had to get some breakfast. So, after we set up our paddock area, of course, with the gang, we moved into Saturday practice. Saturday was really dry and the track was very fast, and we were getting scarily close to the lap record. You can see there I was quite fast, overtaking some other carts around the outside even, and now we're behind Ollie in the 71 car. So, Ollie gets a bit squirmy and halfway through of the hairpin corner, we get a better exit and we're side by side into the horseshoe, and I get the cutback on the exit and I'm able to make the move stick. So as you can see, the conditions on Sunday morning were different to Saturday, and that was because it had rained a lot overnight. So all of our races were under wet, and you can just see just how bad it is. There was very little visibility and the conditions were very tricky, as we're about to find out. So the lights go green and we are racing for the first time for the Macey Cup. We come into turn 1 and brake nice and early to make sure that there's no contact to the other cart, and we make it through turn 1 without any incidents. Then we come into the chicane and we're going side by side with another car, so we use all the curb and stay right, and then we're able to go around the outside of the other car on the exit of the chicane. Next up is a hairpin, which is an amazing spot for overtaking, as I will now demonstrate here as I go up the inside of the 95, and I'm able to make the move stick by getting a good exit. And next up is Leo in the 29 car. So that was a great start to the race. We made up positions and we kept our nose clean, so we're ready to go and attack the next couple of carts. Coming into the hairpin, even though I'm quite far back, I'm able to brake late and go up the inside of Leo, and I'm also able to get alongside Tyler, but I'm not able to make a move on him as well. However, into the next corner I get a good exit, so I decide to send it up the inside and use the curb for rotation and get another position done that way. I'm behind Ollie Chandler here in the 71 car, and I'm able to get a better exit out of the final corner, and down the straight I tell him to work with me so that we can go and catch whoever it is in first place. Ollie also made a video from this weekend, so make sure to go and check that one out after you've watched this. Now, speaking of whoever's in first place, who is that? Number 9. So that means that this is a twin karting RM 1-2, which will be our very first in GX, as long as I don't bin it. So thankfully I crossed the finish line still in P2, so that we keep our 1-2 finishing position, and then, in the scrutineering bay, after I go and congratulate Ollie on a P3 finish, which is his first since last year's Macey Cup, we go and get weighed, and we were quite overweight. We're at 145 kilos, which couldn't have been helping, and then I go and congratulate Morgan on the first win of 2026. So after totally not pinning it on the formation lap, we start heat 2 on the outside row, starting very near the back. So a couple of other carts start flying down my inside, and that's because I'm on the outside line. So my goal is to try and get onto the inside as quickly as possible. So through the chicane, that's not going to happen as we're going side by side with a couple of other cars, and on the exit I'm getting stuck behind Jake, So then down into the hairpin, Jake tells me to work with him, but I see Morgan going down the inside of him, so I thought I'd just let this one play out and see if we can get a free position. I follow Morgan, but unfortunately the other carts get a better exit, so that means that Morgan's on the outside for the next corner. So I go up the inside of Morgan, but then my progress is stopped and Morgan goes up the inside of Jake into the next corner. And then all the carts in front start to bunch up again, so I decide to go around the outside into the final corner and try and get a better exit, which I do. And then coming onto the back straight, I decide to work with Morgan, so I bump draft him down the straight and hopefully help him to make some moves going forwards into race. Coming into the final corner, I get a better exit and I go up the inside of the cart in front into the final corner. This isn't a place where I'd normally go for a move because it compromises your exit all the way down into turn 1. The cart ahead takes a slightly wider line in turn 1, and because of that I'm able to slip up the inside and make the move before the chicane. Coming into turn 1, Morgan unfortunately decides to slot in behind another cart, which breaks earlier than Morgan was anticipating, and that means that Morgan unfortunately takes Noah in for 58 cart out. That was unfortunate for them, but good for me because it meant that I got 2 free positions, and now I'm starting to reel in the cart in front. So, on the final lap, on the final corner, I get a better exit than Ollie for 71 cart ahead, and I'm able to use his slipstream and my better exit to pull alongside, and I'm able to just get the position over the line. If you're wondering why it's only my camera footage for this video, that's because Morgan's SD card wasn't working this weekend, so his camera was only capturing short snippets of the races. However, at a test day at Wilton Mill, we fixed this problem with a new SD card. So we come up to the lights for the final heat of the Macey Cup. I need to do really well in this one if I want a good starting position for the final after my utter bottle job of Heat 2. We come into turn 1, again on the outside line, so I'm moving over to the inside to try and protect my position, and we get through turn 1 nice and easily. We've only lost 1 position, which I think is quite good for clay pigeons, especially on the outside. We come through for chicane using the curb and giving other carts to space, and we look to make a move as we come into the hairpin. The gap appears, so we go up the inside of a couple other carts into the hairpin and get a few positions nice and easily. coming out of the hairpin, I get a better exit than Fred in the 22 car, and I go up the inside into the horseshoe corner. Ahead, the 95 goes for a move on Jack Riggs and sort of opens up a gap, but unfortunately I wasn't close enough to be able to capitalise off of this. Luckily, next lap I will be able to. So coming out of the final corner, I get a better exit than the kart in front, and I'm able to use Jack's slipstream to pull alongside, and I'm ahead coming into turn 1. And then the other kart goes up the inside and then unfortunately makes a mistake, and that means that I get past that kart and Jack Riggs, which is always nice. What isn't so nice is when you're on the last corner of the race and suddenly Jack Riggs appears and absolutely does you, and you lose a position. Even after my shocking Heat 2, I was still able to start second for the final. Ahead is last year's M-Plate winner, and in third is Jack Riggs, and fourth, my brother Morgan. We'd like to quickly thank our sponsors, Rad Fire Sprinklers. It's amazing to see that a company is still prepared to sponsor 2 kids to race go-karts. So that was an amazing turn 1, because we didn't lose any positions, even starting from the outside, and we're right on the tail of the leader. My plan here was to work with the leader to get away from Jack and Morgan, but unfortunately, we decided to not change our gearing for the final to try and protect our engines, whilst the kart in front absolutely fires out of the slow corners, which we couldn't do thanks to our gearing. So this meant that it would be very difficult to keep with the leader for the rest of the race. So you can see here, about halfway into the race, we've been absolutely gapped by the leader. Now, Morgan is behind me, which means that hopefully we'll work together to try and catch the leader. So let's see how that goes. So, Coming out of the horseshoe corner, I am about to receive Morgan's help coming into the flat out kink, as, thanks Morgan. The next lap coming into the hairpin, Morgan overtakes me and cleanly this time, and now I'm hoping to work with Morgan for the rest of the race. Unfortunately, this would not be, as Morgan was absolutely rapid this race and I had no hope of staying with him. So, a few laps later, I've been absolutely dropped by Morgan, but at least I have a gap to Jack. Or at least I did until I make an absolutely massive mistake in the chicane right now. Not ideal, so that's put Jack right behind me and I now spend the rest of my race defending from him. Unfortunately, we're not allowed rear-facing cameras, so I can't actually show you much of that, and you'll just have to trust me that he was behind me. But you can see just how much Morgan's gapped me. He even set the fastest lap of this race, and in the next shot you'll be able to see that he's even closed down the leader. Out of the final corner, I get a good enough exit to make sure that Jack's not going to come past me on the straight on the final lap, and it means that I'm able to bring home 3rd position, which means that we've gotten our very first twin karting RM double podium. The Macey Cup was definitely a tough weekend for us, despite the good result in the final, and that's because I made a lot more mistakes than usual, and we also learned a lot more about the setup and the gearing. So hopefully, come round 1 in April at Wilton Mill, which will be live streamed, will be a lot more competitive and ready to win. So thank you to Rad for making this amazing experience happen, and thank you to you for watching our video. Unfortunately, this will be the retirement of the twin karting RM wetsuits, as you can tell there. We've outgrown them and Morgan's has split in half completely. Here, Morgan's just drying off his kart before it goes back into the trailer for the journey home, and I thought I'd tell you a bit about what we did for kart setup and gearing. So for tyre pressures, we went to 15 psi, which was a bit of a guess because we still haven't fully learnt these new Vega tyres. We did a stiff front torsion bar, full front width, full caster, minimum rear width, and our gearing was a 2078.